Coach Noel Powers is a business coach who helps entrepreneurs, well, I can say that, up-level their brands to lead their industry with vision. Her coaching brand is N Factor Coaching that provides a convenient online 12-week shakedown called Up-Level Your Brand for busy experts and entrepreneurs to scale their brands as industry leaders. She spent 20 years coaching in many of the world's top training organizations, including Peak Potentials and BNI. As the global expert on vision-driven profit, she shares her unique insights on branding, marketing, and leadership as a professional speaker, expert panelist at top business publications, and as the author of multiple book series. Global recognition. She is a Brains Magazine CREA Global Award recipient and executive contributor as a world's top 1,000 entrepreneur and thought leader. She was inducted as a Marquis Who's Who in America honoree last October and continues her vision of improving the lives of millions through more inspired leadership. Today's presentation is 3 steps to building an industry-leading brand.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right, good morning. I'm so glad everyone could come out. My name is Noel Powers. I'm a business coach. And like other entrepreneurs, I do about 100 other things. Today I'm going to share 3 steps to building an industry-leading brand. And these are literally the secrets from the top 1% of brands like Apple and Amazon on the things you want to do with your brand: attract lifelong customers, maximize engagement and profit, lead your industry or niche, and leave a legacy of positive impact. And again, why I'm the person to present on this is I study and create industry leaders. I literally decode the secrets that make them as powerful and profitable as they are. For my series, Vision Driven Profit, I did 10,000 pages of research on people like Steve Jobs, Jeff Bezos, Sarah Blakely, Oprah Winfrey, Harley Davidson. If it is the most profitable brand in an industry, I break it down so that you see those unifying characteristics that you can copy and paste and put right into your own business. My most recent book is The $1 Million Brand Method, where it teaches you how to create an online community that generates $1 million per year, because that is very big right now. I always want to be right on the pulse of what it means to be an entrepreneur right now with maximum engagement for your brand. So it is for in-person and online businesses. And that's my Who's Who in America designee. I don't know why they designated me, but that's one of my lifelong achievements. And every year, people like Forbes and Business Newsweek, they just ask me to be a private panelist for them. And so I'm very proud of the work that I do with entrepreneurs around the globe, especially post-COVID, doing the most with your resources with what's available right now. And on the topic of industry leadership, now a lot of times you open a business magazine and it says the importance of leading your industry, but we kind of guess and poke around at this, but it's not always concrete. I wake up in the morning and I want to lead my industry, but it's not always concrete. What are the steps to do that? So what I did is I created this infographic here, and it breaks down what I'm going to talk about, and I will post this in the group and everything. But this is the exact steps that these 5 companies took to lead their industry within 10 years. And at the bottom down here is clarifying your brand, vision, message, and culture. Looking down the lens 20 years. Industry leaders think 20 years ahead. And it's why they always smoke the people who think short term. The real disease of business right now is short-term thinking. A lot of people can't see past next week. A lot of people can't see past a quarterly projection. If someone's thinking 5 years out, they're like, oh, they're strategic masters. But if you want to lead your industry, you literally need to invent the future, paint a picture, and get people to it. And this is how we do it. Today, we're really gonna focus on the foundation of your brand that engages people, that tells them I am for you, that gets them to invest in the vision you have for their future. And of course, on these sides is the things you would kind of expect. You know, you need your social proof, that PR, the media, and you need to have a brand promise that you keep. And so today we're going to talk about kind of how. If you want to lead your industry, here are 3 steps how to do it. And then on my online coaching program, the Up-Level Your Brand, it is a 12-week shakedown. That's how we talk about, so this is what you need to do, and that would really go into how to do it with these steps to really clarify vision, message, and culture, and then the actual pieces that you would use to climb this ladder, again, if you're looking at leading your industry in the next 10 years. All right. Who doesn't want to lead their industry? Does anyone here, like, you don't want customers who are willing to pay you more for being excellent? Right. Or does everyone here wake up and wish, well, I just have to be the cheapest or no one's gonna buy stuff, right? We all want to have a powerful brand. The problem is 99% of us don't know what to do. So I'm telling you, there's only 2 groups of people in business. The first one is the top 1%, right? Every industry has a brand that leads it, right? They get it. So Apple makes 90% of the profit selling to 5% of consumers. That's what they've always done, right? Amazon is the size of its next 7 competitors with AWS. They figured something out in 10 years and no one can ever close the gap. Sarah Blakely of Spanx, she opened Spanx with $2,000 and never spent a penny on advertising and built a $1 billion brand on a personal message. And then the other examples are like Oprah Winfrey and Harley Davidson. These people, they just dominate. Who in the world doesn't know who Oprah Winfrey is? They are pulling a set of levers other people simply don't know exist. And then there's the other 99%, they don't get it. Instead of having a brand and a vision, they shuffle. Have you guys ever noticed how much people shuffle in business? Oh, we're gonna try and grab this piece, and they shuffle over here. And oh, customers like this, and they're doing surveys, and they shuffle back and forth. Vision is the opposite of shuffling, and we're really going to talk about this. So brand leaders, they work to lead their industry. The other 99% compete to not come in last. Today, I'm giving you an invitation to leave the 99% for the 1%. And to really illustrate what it is you want to do, I'm going to share a story about Steve Jobs and the current Apple brand. And this is the year 1997, the year that changed business forever. That Steve Jobs literally took Apple from 90 days to complete insolvency, bankruptcy, to the world's most profitable brand in 10 years. And a little bit of a backstory here. So Steve Jobs started Apple as a 20-year-old kid in his parents' garage, right? He had $2,000 and he walked down the street and he started selling computers to computer geeks. It was 20 people whose desires he understood better than anyone in the world. So that's what the brand really started with. And he decided, coming back to Apple when it was just about to go bankrupt, that he was going to do the same thing. Only this time, the company it became a Me Too business. Oh, my competitor does this, okay, me too. My competitor does this, okay, me too. So in 1996, the company was going under. They sold 100 products no one cared about. They were socially irrelevant and quite frankly, kind of a joke. But he decided that the world would be better with Apple. So the first thing he did was he created one cohesive vision for the whole company. And what's the first thing he said? Can everybody say, get rid of the bozos? Corporate bozos, right? People who can't see past the quarterly projection. People who are just gonna sell cheap stuff until someone else sells cheaper stuff or better, right? These people are beholden to the market. So he said, I'm gonna set the vision. In 20 years, we are gonna go back to becoming the world's premier computing company. And he really described the future in 20 years. And he says, who is our one customer? These are discerning people. And then what is the one impact we're going to make? And he said, we have one concrete vision, and if you are not on board, you're not working at Apple next year. So he started at the top. He says, these are not leaders, these are corporate bozos. If they cannot communicate a vision clearly to the employees, to the public, to consumers, then they don't have anything to give and they are gone. So the first thing you want to do is you want to think about who is your one customer and what is your vision for their life, and project your mind, even if it's just out 5 years or 10 years, but you want to project that future that you can really invite people into. The second part is that Steve Jobs always had a lifelong vision for consumers, and he did this in Apple and Pixar and Next, every company he ever had, and that was his vision for himself was stepping into the role of empowering the individual, right? When he started Apple, computers were just these big machines that engineers, right? You wore a white lab coat and you had millions of dollars, and the government could do it and huge corporations could do it, but he said, no, I'm gonna empower the individual. I'm gonna change someone's life. When you have technology in your hands, you can do what you wanna do. And that was his lifelong vision. So the Apple Renaissance, when they came back, he says, here's my vision in 20 years. We're going to create digital devices, portable devices that integrate every aspect of people's lives in one place. And that was his vision for it. And that's how they created the mobile technology, like the iMac and the iPod. It was on that. And he went back to saying, we're not for everyone. We're for that discerning person. And we are going to go back to selling to 5% of people and make them missionaries. And they went, after 1 year, they went back to making 90% of the industry profits on personal computers in there. So it's very powerful, right? 99% shuffle. Industry leaders create brands with a clear, compelling vision, because vision is about total alignment and calibration. It makes you stop shuffling and focus on the things you really need to. And then step 2, and I call it brand VMC, vision, message, and culture. Vision, message, and culture is you need to create a message. And by this, I'm not talking about a slogan. I like how Seth Godin says that's not a brand, that's a logo. We're not talking about that sheet of 50 things you need to do for continuity. We're talking about the message you have that resonates with your ideal client, that lets them know you are for them and not for anyone else. And for him, it was think different, because that was who he was his whole life, is someone who thought different. And because of think different, he could create a global tribe, right? Apple's not a company. It's the most easily identifiable culture of any business in the world. We know who an Apple person is. And right, he said, here's to the crazy ones. And he added to this, in their craziness, we see genius. Isn't that amazing? If I had to create another brand, I would tell someone, if you buy my expensive computer, it's because you're a genius. That's a pretty good message. But remember that a brand is a visceral connection between real people. There's no substitute. There's no way to improve on a personal message that comes from you that makes people connect, right? Simon Sinek is really popular for start with why. And he says, because people do not buy with their rational mind, they buy with their limbic system. We act and behave because something is pinged in us. I trust them. And if you speak the language of ideals with a message for one person, they act on it and they become part of your tribe. And you're all speaking the same language and no one else gets it. And that's what you want. It is an inside community. It's like an inside joke no one else gets. That's what it means to have a message. And I always say, what message resonates deepest with them? And here's the other thing, no one else has to get it. It doesn't have to be logical. It doesn't, Sarah Blakely, she went around showing people the underwear, right? And her own brother thought that she was indecent. But, because she did something that worked and people were proud to say, yeah, look at me, and celebrities, showing them that it doesn't have to make sense to anyone else. Your brand is this like sacred connection with the people who care and support you the most. And here's the other thing, it's easy to become distracted and discouraged by the things you don't have, right? But if you don't have it, you don't need it. What I'm talking about today is the human elements of leadership and influence. That as long as you can go out and create a community of 20 people where you understand their desires better than anyone in the world, and you can create that brand, you can always expand it, right? The resources are out there. But if you create that core of success, you can do anything you want, right? Money will come, audience will come, but that's where you really want to focus on. And step 3 is culture. So culture produces outcomes. Stephen Covey likes to say that culture eats processes for lunch. In the business world, we focus so much on processes, right? It's like you're always juggling these different things. Oh, we do marketing, we do product development, and everything is isolated and cordoned off and never really flows together. The reason why vision in a company sells so much is when everyone is on the same page, you're only doing things that are relevant. And a great example of this is in Apple and every other industry-leading brand, they don't have separate departments. They actually not only create a culture, but they structured their business in a way that everyone is acting on one cohesive vision. And so sales, creativity, innovation keeps going, right? And who here knows that innovation is important, right? You need to innovate. Okay, how do you do that? So to have an innovative, I call it the expressway of innovation, that means that your brand is just for one employee. Sometimes people get a little lost on this. Your company is not a haven for where everyone wants to work. The work you do is good for one person. It's heaven for one person. And that's exactly what Steve Jobs did, is he created a team of about 12 people. And that's Johnny Ive right there. He created 22 products. And it was a hand-selected team that did marketing, product design. They created patents on their materials. So they were all in one room creating something, and I'll tell you what, it took them 1 year to go from thought to product to selling to the market. 1 year. All the companies down the street, it was 1 year into it and they were still deciding on what product to make. And what happened here is he created an innovation expressway. And in the time that he came back, they actually created 5 devices that created 5 different industries in 5 years. So that year in 1997, it changed business forever. Because that's personal power that you have, that he showed us how to use. So again, your processes and stuff are important, but culture is what's going to create the outcomes. Those are the inputs that determine the outputs. And if you want something exceptional, you have to structure your business in a way that gives you something exceptional. We can't just be carbon copying the industrial revolution that we've seen. And very importantly, we're talking here about the traits of visionary leaders. That's really who Steve Jobs was a visionary leader. In management, you tell people what to do. A visionary leader leads people to who they would like to become. And we know this is 20 years later. Everyone who worked here, everyone who goes through that Nordstrom training, who works at the Apple store, all these people who he hand-selected, they invented entire industries, and they're leading them today, which is very powerful. It is 20 years later, and that's why I say it is a pattern that we can follow. Okay, so what is a brand? And this is an Apple store opening, right? What is a brand? In 2024, the New York City Apple store attracted 12 million tourists, which is more than the Statue of Liberty and the Empire State Building combined. And so what makes people, so here's the question in what is a brand? What makes people fly halfway around the world to visit an Apple store when they can buy a computer down the street? Right? Aren't they all made from the same parts? Don't they all do the same thing? What makes them do that?
Excitement, want to be the first one.
That's right. Yeah, they're early adapters. That's right.
So they set up excitement to bring the people in.
That's right. But it's the Apple experience.
That's what I was gonna say, the experience.
It's the experience, right? It's about creating an experience that people want to have over and over again. It's the same thing with the stores, it's the same thing with the Mac world, right? Each year, and I love using the example of Apple because they're a real tribe, and their year actually starts at an event, right? The Mac world. So it's a great example of that. But they gather and they celebrate uniqueness, right? I can go down the street and buy something from IBM and I know I'm using a computer. An Apple person, they open a package and they believe they're adding something to the world. They're not buying something, they're adding something to the world. And every interaction they have with that company brings them closer to their ideal life, to their ideal self. So again, it was 10 years in and Steve Jobs died. And the next year, Apple passed the $1 trillion market capitalization. So they literally became the world's most profitable brand, the first one to reach the trillion, and that doubled the next year. And so my question to you is, he did that in 1 year. He created this powerful vision for the future. He created a message and a culture that resonated with millions of people. Can I grab this? Yep. Can I just hold it?
Yep.
Okay. So I want you to ask yourself this question. I want you to look at this device you're holding. That this was one person's vision, and you're a part of it. That this is still unlocking human potential among millions of people every single day, all around the world. That's one person's vision. And you're a part of it. So my question is, after he created this incredible future for us, are you willing to take the next 12 months and create your own brand with a powerful vision that transforms lives? That is my presentation for you guys. Now, thank you. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do an exercise. So every time I speak, I want to thank you and give you free gifts. The first one is if you sign up over there, you get it's a free PDF download. It's 52 ways to grow a profitable brand. And it's some of the top ways to grow in person and online right now. And it does put you on my email news list. And what I send you is mostly events for marketing and branding, especially online training, so you don't have to go places and pay for that. And then also we're going to do a 10-minute exercise here on you clarifying your brand vision. So I'm going to pop over here and we'll do some of those exercises together. And just very quickly, in the spirit of this, I just want to talk about intangible benefits right now. Because you can go back and create the structures you need and create processes you need, but I want you to really think about one thing. What is the intangible benefit that you give your clients, right? What really speaks to their identity? Is it security, protection? Is it peace of mind? A good example of this is Amazon, right? Amazon doesn't just give you stuff, they give you the gift of your own time. So my question here as you do this exercise is, what is it you're giving your customers that they're not getting somewhere else? That it can be ease, it can be reducing the friction of something. Are you making something cheaper or better? And what is the real impact that they want? And their life. And then of course, right, are you making it easy? And we did follow this Apple thing, but what I want you to do is, I'm gonna keep this up on the screen, and if you'd like to take a look at this and do a snapshot of it, if you need more prompting,